there were aspects of Andy's story that I was really struggled with. There were some narrative moments where I was like, come on, what? When I had scenes with Steve, I couldn't look into those eyes. Oh. And one of the executives like turns to me and goes, your life is about to completely change. Bradley's like, can I feed it? No. And I was like, buddy, that's the only way to describe it, is that a bomb went off inside of me.
Is there any sort of behind-the-scenes moment from The Office that's never made it into an interview before?
This one you'll never see anywhere, but...
By the way, I heard you love RC cars.
Oh, yeah.
Which I went through a thing. I still have, like, a shitload of Traxxas cars in my garage.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, tons.
I went through a pretty... I got really into RC helicopters when they were sort of first coming out at a consumer level.
Yeah.
And as a kid, I was into RC cars, and I had you know, the Kyosho Optima.
Those are cool.
Oh, they're so great. But
those are a little out of reach for actual kids, unfortunately. Yeah.
And then and then it's so weird when I got super into those little helicopters, and I remember there was a hobby shop right next to my hotel in Ypsilanti, Michigan, where I was filming the movie Cedar Rapids.
Which Ypsi, for those who don't know, is, if you're in Ann Arbor going to college, Ypsi is the dangerous part near Ann Arbor, where you only go there for one reason. Do you know that reason, Ed?
The hobby shop?
Yeah,
I don't know.
There's a Deja Vu strip club that might still be there.
Great.
You don't know anything about that, but of course.
Of course.
But that's all anybody does there. If Deja Vu, if you know, you know. If you don't, you fly RC helicopters.
Well, there you go.
Yeah. So what is this about you flying one around the lobby of the hotel, though? Is that legal?
Well,
I feel like you need a license for that or something.
I would just say there was a PA that worked on the movie who was like kind of my guy, and I would just be like, hey, run to the hobby shop and get me or I broke a rotor. Will you go run to the hobby shop and get me another one? So he was back and forth all the time, and sometimes I'd be like, all right, here's $100. Just buy something cool and bring it back. And he'd come back and like, here's this cool car. Wow. And we just like race him around wherever we were. So yeah, like all over the set, I was constantly like buzzing people with these little helicopters. The crew was getting super annoyed.
Yeah, it's all fun and games until a red camera gets beamed with
exactly
$100,000 camera.
And then Miguel Arteta, the director, was like, you know what? There's a face you make when you're flying that helicopter that I've never seen you make otherwise, and I want it in the movie. So we're gonna have a scene where Tim Lippy, your character, is flying this helicopter, and he did, and it's in the movie. I'm just sitting in my office, like, and you see the little helicopter fly by. It's it's a joy.
That look, so the look is unadulterated joy, right? Where you're just transported back to kid mode, and you're like, this is cool as hell.
It's almost like a meditative state. Yeah, truly. It's like I'm elsewhere. I'm in this little helicopter that's flying around, and there's something so exhilarating about controlling an apparatus that when I was a kid, the helicopters were the coolest thing, and then now I can pilot one. Yeah, I'm still getting. It's like it totally ignites my childhood enthusiasm.
There's a guy in a park near my house, and he flies this plane, this RC plane, around and around and around and around and around, and my wife goes, I wonder, he's there for hours. He must be so bored with his life. And I was like, no. That guy this is his happy place, man. He's not thinking about his bills. He's not thinking about his bum leg. He's not thinking about his, I don't know, prostate enlargement issue or whatever, right? He's not thinking about all the crap that he's been through. And this is an older guy, right? He's like, all the losses, all the no, this is where he just is for 4 hours a day in the sun, not giving a crap about the melanoma developing on his bald head.
I get him. Yeah, I get that 100%.
Exactly.
I've gotten into the crawlers recently. Do you know?
Yeah.
So they're the really slow RC trucks, and there's something so, again, it's like this meditative thing because they'll go like over, rocks and trails and stuff, and I never thought I would be into a slow RC car, but it's really fun. And of course they go fast too, so you can zip them around. But on hiking trails,
it's fun.
It's like a little road for a little car.
That's right. There's people.
How many people have turned this podcast off at this point? Like, what is he talking about?
They're going to get to the point at some point in this show, right? Yeah. I read that you had some career clarity really early. You said, I went back to Oberlin and they showed me my application and there's a question on it that says, what are your career goals? And I wrote TV, film actor, producer. I was 17 years old. It seems like a huge advantage to have that kind of clarity at 17, because I don't even think I had clarity about what I wanted to do. I used to be a lawyer before this.
Wait, you didn't know you wanted to be a podcaster before podcasting existed?
I did love radio, and I wanted to talk on the radio, and my mom was like, they don't make any money, and it's an impossible job to get, forget about it. And I was like, okay, but I was probably 8 then.
Yeah.
Because I built an FM radio transmitter that would go around the neighborhood, which is illegal, by the way. Anything further than but who cares?
Your little Marconi up in the in the attic building your radio. That's so cool.
I thought that was cool, and I just was... There's something magical about other people being able to hear you. Podcasting really scratched that itch for me. But knowing, okay, I want to be on TV. And it seems like it wasn't just I want to be on TV because you said producer, which is not something you say when you're like, I want people to adore me unquestioningly and get lots of girls, right? It seems like it's deeper than that.
You know, I can't explain it, but I did, at least I knew I wanted. I didn't know that it was realistic or even plausible for a long time, but even as a little kid, and so many comedy people say this, and it to the point where it's almost hacky, but it's 100% true with me, which is that watching Saturday Night Live and watching Eddie Murphy and Mike Myers and all these guys that I started watching. I think Eddie Murphy was on when I was 8 years old.
Yeah.
And
how was that allowed? Your parents let you
not
watch
allowed. Sneaking downstairs with my best friend Nick, and we would watch these things and then recite them for hours and reenact them. And we didn't get them. Like we didn't get the jokes. Like Mr. Robinson's Neighborhood. Like I got that as a kid. No, but I loved it. I just loved the energy. And it was something I knew I wanted to be a part of somehow. And so as I got older, I think I just sort of took it for granted. Like, this is what I want to do. And it felt, as I got older, it started to feel more possible.
Yeah.
Because I developed this mindset of like, any job that I want to have or any adventure that I want to be a part of, somebody's doing it. Mm-hmm. That person had a path to get there. There's no reason I can't find a path to get to the thing I want. And like, that's a very, I don't know, that's a very hopeful mindset. And I don't know where it came from, honestly. I think I credit my parents somewhat with like giving me a lot of safety and self-confidence to kind of like find that mindset. But I also, I think there was a part of me that really wanted to get away from my home and kind of, I was raised in the South and I always felt like a fish out of water there. And I was like, I need more, I need some adventure. I need something bigger. And, which is also a fallacy. Like there's so much.
It's motivating.
But it was motivating.
Yeah.
And so I moved forward with this clarity that I took for granted. And I look back and I'm like, I'm so grateful I had that clarity. And I used to look at other people and be like, why are you so lost? Like, just dig in, like figure out what you want to do.
Yeah.
And it took me a long time to really realize like, oh, that's actually a very rare gift that I was given is that clarity. And that I now I don't take it for granted at all. I'm so grateful that I had such a specific passion. I can't totally explain it, but it was it's something I had and was lucky enough to follow.
Yeah, I agree, man. I figured this out. I started this podcast when I was probably 26, and I'm 45 now, or maybe I was 27. I have to do the math on this, but that was early, I thought. I mean, it's early for podcasting, but I mean, it's early in my life. You had yours at 17. Most people, I don't think, either ever get that clarity or they get it when they're like 38 and they go, that's going to be a hobby because I've been a lawyer for 15 years and this is my career and this is what pays the bills and I'm not going to start over to like go do improv shows on weekends when I'm making 3 or 4 or 500 grand as a lawyer. Like, that's irresponsible at that point if you have a family to do that. And if you're single, I guess go for it. You know, you only live once. But it seems like that clarity, like you said, it's a gift. You just get it early and you have a massive head start.
And I think also having the life, having the circumstances in your life, even as a young person, to chase that thing. You know, I was fortunate enough that I wasn't saddled with student debt.
Right.
My parents were able to pay my college and things like that. I'm so grateful looking back. I mean, those are the things that enabled me to make some probably riskier choices than a lot of people have an opportunity to.
Yeah, it's important that I think that we recognize that. I agree with you. I think it's real easy for people like us to sit up there and go like, man, just go for it and follow your dreams. And it's like, so let me ask you this. What was going to happen to you if your dream failed? Yeah. Oh, I'd go back and live in my parents' in-law unit and then probably work for my uncle's car dealership or whatever, people say. And it's like, oh, I was going to be homeless because I don't know where my father is and my mother has, lives in public housing and I can't live. And you're like, oh, yeah, that's a worse alternative. I understand why you took the safer route.
I have evolved so much on sort of my understanding of meritocracy as a concept. I used to look at my career and my success and be like, I built it. I did all this. I worked. I took huge risks. I worked my ass off. And both of those things are true.
It's true, yeah.
And also, I am lucky as hell in 1,000 different ways, and I had opportunities that other people don't have, and I had access to whatever that maybe other people didn't have. I mean, my career wasn't handed to me, but it also was. I think it's just important to sort of like look back with gratitude at some of the things that were. I don't know, that paved the way.
That fell into place.
Yeah, fell into place, exactly.
There's a book I read a long time ago. I can't remember the title, unfortunately, but it was about luck and how most people don't want to acknowledge the role that luck plays in their life.
Yeah.
But then they went over certain characters like Bill Gates or something and how it might be like a Malcolm Gladwell Outliers.
That's Outliers. Yeah.
And they go over the luck factor. And it's like, well, Bill Gates did this and he saw this coming. Yeah, but he also went to a school where there was a computer and it was like the only one in the whole that side of the Mississippi, and they got the keys and they could go in there at night. So they spent 1,000 times more computer hours than their peers did on this thing.
They had access to a mentor in a certain space, or they had, and I go back to this a lot because I have little kids now, and I think about this all the time, just about how, like, when a kid feels safe, like what they have access to inside of themselves, and that's. So many kids aren't safe for 1,000 different reasons, whether it's food insecurity or an abusive home or an addicted parent or whatever it is. There are so many things that safety interrupts, and there's so many ways, obviously, that kids persevere through these things. And my childhood wasn't 100% safe, and I had certain difficulties, but I do think that now it's like, well, yeah, Bill Gates grew up in a home where it was safe for him to be kind of like a nerdy kid.
Right, lean into his interests,
He didn't have the jock dad like screaming at him to go to football practice or whatever that could have looked like.
That's an interesting point, yeah.
So it just is you're right. There are so many factors. It's just a constellation of factors that allow us to get on these pathways, especially unusual or special ones like the careers that we've had. And you just have to be grateful.
You've been in some massive franchises, The Hangover, The Office. They have these intense fan cultures. I'm sure you've noticed. What's the most surreal moment you've had when you realized maybe how much public perception had shifted around you? Because it kind of happens, I won't say overnight, but you build up to it, but then there's these, you talk about this on Conan, there's these different levels of fame, right?
Yeah. Gosh. A specific thing. I do remember being in London when the Hangover, we were doing Hangover press, and they were we were in London for a premiere, and we were out to dinner with, it was me and Bradley and Zach and a few other Warner Brothers brass, and I think a couple of other cast people were with us, and they were getting numbers from the U.S. box office.
I see. Yeah.
And the Warner Brothers people were like, "This is unbelievable. This is incredible." And one of the executives like turns to me and goes, "Your life is about to completely change." And I was like,
Before you went in an interview on a media tour? Because that's like, maybe tell me that at dinner, man.
Yeah. Well, no, this was a dinner.
Okay.
Yeah, this was like
wait, let me get through this press tour.
We were all out to dinner, but I just remember being like, I just took a bite of this steak, and now the next bite I take of this steak, I'm a different person.
Right, you're a celebrity.
It's
now.
like a totally different thing.
Did it taste better? The second bite taste better?
Well, the second bite I took was inadequate. It was
undercooked and overcooked.
It didn't measure up. The first bite was the best one I ever had. once you're a celebrity, nothing measures up. But it sort of hit in a way that was like, okay, intellectually I can understand that, but what's it going to feel like? And then it just kind of creeps into you. And I think the strangest thing about your profile rising so quickly and massively is that you no longer control your experience of an environment. So
yeah, that's interesting.
So like an airport is probably the most easy one to understand.
The classic one.
Right. So you walk into an airport as a anonymous civilian, and you can go and stand at baggage claim. And if there's some crazy person next to you, or like really obnoxious person, or stinky person, or whatever, you can just walk away and go stand in another place and whatever, read your book, listen to your podcast. But at a certain level of celebrity, those things are you can no longer take those little measures of control. Like you might have walked away from a situation in that instance, but at a certain level of celebrity, you can no longer take those little steps because they won't matter. They won't fix anything.
I see. So the stinky person just follows you from one part of the baggage claim to the other.
Yeah, or there's still people yelling at you. You go to a different place, people are still yelling, "Nard dog," or worse.
That's got to be something you get a lot.
But it's so I think, and all of that triggers a kind of primal control reflex.
Yeah,
that's very fearful. It's
that's
like I can no longer control my environment, and you take for granted how much anonymity allows you to actually control your circumstances, and so in a weird way, it's been this lesson in letting go that I probably needed at some level.
Yeah, that's interesting. That's interesting. And on Conan, Conan Needs a Friend, I think, is where I saw this. There's something, you said there's just toy fame, which, take me through what that means. That was like, I don't know what toy fame is, or maybe I misunderstood what you were saying.
I think that's something that Colbert used to say when we were on The Daily Show.
Okay.
He's like, we have toy fame, meaning like it's fun to play with.
I see.
Like you get to go to you're walking through an airport and nobody really recognizes. It's basic cable fame.
I see.
It's, right? Because we were all on The Daily Show.
Yeah.
So like fans recognized us, but nobody else.
Right.
So
I
like
see.
you can walk through the airport and you're pretty much fine, but you're going to go to like an Einstein Bagels and they'll be like, "Do you want some free cream cheese on that?" Or like, "Oh,
I'll hook you up, man."
Yeah, I'll hook you up. It's like like you just bump into fans here and there, and there's kind of like really fun energy around it. And then as it grows and grows, it's real. It's adult.
Yeah,
it's like real adult fame, and that has a lot of consequences that go with it.
I think a lot of us are going, what's the hard part about being famous? Come on, most people don't see the flip side of it. They only see the upside of it. They think like, oh man, you get free cream cheese on your bagel.
Right.
You probably get seated, preferentially. You can pre-board on an airplane. I don't even know. Whatever. You can do all kinds of stuff that you can get a table at this restaurant without waiting. They're not going to make you wait 45 minutes, nard dog. They're going to let you come and sit down. You're going to look cool for every, girl that you're with or whatever at any time. Well, those days are gone for both of us probably. But like, there's a downside, I assume too, like you said, where you can't get away from the farter at the baggage claim. I mean, there's just a farter on the other side waiting to bother you.
Yeah, I mean, it's the change. It's like the change in your existence that's the hardest thing to accept. And once you've gotten sort of through that, like any change in your life, any dramatic change is going to sort of upset the apple cart in some way.
Yeah,
there's going to be some good things and some difficult things, but honestly, like, I don't know, I've gotten so used to it, and it's tempered now. It's not nearly like when I have a movie coming out or I have something big going on, like this book, for example. Like my profile does rise in the zeitgeist for a moment, and I'm recognized a lot more in those moments.
I
But
see.
now it's kind of like, I don't know. It's just not as big a deal as it was.
I can see that. It's very funny that this happened to me right before this interview when I was eating at Sugarfish, which is one of my favorite sushi places in LA. It's right near the studio. And I zoned out staring at the waitress and the bar because I wanted something. And then she walked away and I just kept staring in that direction. And then I noticed this guy who had like a really bright shirt on started staring back at me awkwardly. And I was like, oh gosh, that guy thinks I'm looking at him. This is embarrassing. Now I have to look away. And then I looked away and I went, the guy looked familiar, and I looked over, and he was still looking at me, and it was Adam Sandler. And I was like, crap, he just thinks I'm going to do some weird thing when I was looking for a Diet Coke refill. So the whole rest of the meal, I have to awkwardly, deliberately not look at Adam Sandler, even though he's wearing a bright blue shirt. And I was like, should I say something? I was like, no, that's the opposite of what's supposed to happen here. So I just end up paying my bill and leaving, and I'm like, no matter how much you try to not be weird around something like that, it's not you guys who are changing when you become famous. It's everyone around you changing instead.
That's a remarkable insight that you're expressing. And it's something that I've that dawned on me at a certain point, and I've shared with people close to me at times. There's that old adage like, oh, like someone who gets famous, and then that everyone
don't forget where you came from.
Yeah, or it's like you've changed, you've changed, and what's usually the case is that whoever the person's saying that is the one who's changed their perception of you.
That's interesting. Yeah, like, hey, you didn't ask me for money before the hangover. I don't know if I'm the one that's changed.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I find that such a fascinating lesson in projection, like how people how we perceive each other and what we project onto each other, and to say like to look at like your friend who's become famous and is now maybe like has maybe there are more boundaries or more just whatever that but they're still your friend.
Yeah.
But then to look at them and say like, you've changed, when actually you're the one nervous around them.
Yeah, that's interesting.
And you've become nervous, but you're projecting that change onto them.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's
that would be kind of unpleasant, right? Because you have to kind of, there's this unspoken, are you being weird? Am I being weird? Is it weird at all? Do you feel that? Because I think I feel that, but I'm not sure I feel that. And then you're like, can we just play golf?
Right.
Right? Like, I thought we were just going to hang out like we did for the last 40 years of my life.
What happened? Why?
Yes.
And they're just like, you've changed.
Yeah.
And like, no, I haven't. I just want to hang out.
Yeah.
No, but you've changed.
Yeah.
You're so different.
Like, fine.
If you haven't changed, why am I so uncomfortable? Like, because you've changed.
Exactly. That's a good, why am I so uncomfortable? There's this funny moment where, I guess it was Daily Show days, where you weren't able to get into a convention because you forgot your ID or something like that. But then you had to use the billboard to get in. And I thought that was so ironic because it's like, well, you're famous enough that you had a billboard facing the parking lot to get in, and you just went, is this enough of an identification? And then the guy was like, sure thing. But it wasn't, you weren't famous enough for that guy to be like, oh, it's you.
Right.
So you're like in that little midway point where it's like, okay, fine, you're the guy on the billboard, but I don't recognize you. So you can come in, but that's it.
That was the Daily Show.
Yeah.
That was Toy Fame years.
Yeah, it's really funny that there's that between level. And I wonder if, was there at that point where you like, one day, I won't need to point to the billboard. Or you'll just remember your ID, I suppose, at that point. But
yeah, I don't know. I honestly thought when a bunch of those years on the Daily Show, I was like, this is it. This is all I've ever wanted to do, and this is the pinnacle.
Yeah.
And then at a certain point, I was like, I'm 30 years old. I need to kind of start thinking,
expand my horizons.
What's next?
Sure. Yeah. What's something you used to believe about success or fulfillment that you've let go of?
Let's see. Success or fulfillment. Well, I think the obvious answer that is true is that well, it's kind of what I was just talking about on the Daily Show. I wanted so badly to be on Saturday Night Live or The Daily Show, and I prepared relentlessly, and it was everything it's why I moved to New York. It's why I started doing stand-up comedy and started doing improv comedy. It's why I joined the community and surrounded myself with the friends that I had, and I just loved that. And I had this goal. And then I got on the Daily Show, and I had never thought beyond that horizon. And I thought, like, I think in somewhere in the back of my head, I was like, once I get on the Daily Show, like, everything falls into place.
Sure.
You know, like, everyone's career
except for the guys where that doesn't happen. Like, my friend got on Saturday Night Live, and then one season later, he was like, that was it, man.
Yeah, like, you just think you're gonna thrive, or make that sort of assumption, and I guess it was the realization that, like, the work never ends. And that was a valuable lesson, because especially at that time, to learn, like, on my, like, one of my first major gigs, because it kind of, like, even when The Hangover happened, the Office happened, and then The Hangover, I was like, I still have to hustle. I got to keep hustling.
That helped you, though, right?
Yeah, for sure. Oh, for sure. And I never, it was like, from that point forward, I just didn't assume that everything was going to be fine.
Yeah.
Whenever I crossed a threshold. Because, of course, my next goal became, like, oh, I want to get on a TV show where I can act, instead of the Daily Show where I'm kind of this one note thing. Now I have to show the world, like, I can act. Well, The Office gave me that opportunity, but I was already looking ahead again, and not in a sort of, like, desperate, like starving, hungry way. Yeah, just in a way of, like, I have to be thinking about my next moves, and as a responsible adult, and as someone with career aspirations. And so then it was like movie pursuit. And
how do you drive your career? Like, The Hangover takes off, right? I assume you get scripts for other comedies, but do you get, like, here's a serious role, and your agent's like, hey, man, do you want to be more like a serious actor in this one? And you've got, because you like Bradley Cooper, right? He's like, you got this, but then you got Limitless. That's not a comedy. And so he's deciding based on this. Do you get those and go, uh-oh, do I stick with comedy, or do I go serious guy in this one? And how do you make those decisions? It's got to be kind of hard.
Well, I wasn't getting those.
Really?
I wasn't getting, like, the serious offers.
I'm surprised that I thought everybody would come after you for everything.
Well, that's I mean, I think.
Or your agent just threw those in the trash, maybe.
Maybe.
Let's be realistic.
That's not, it's not entirely true. I definitely had some stuff would cross my desk that was maybe a little more serious or dramatic, but I think I was just very focused on comedy, probably to a fault. For a while, I just was like, this is what I've always wanted to do, and I just want to work. I just want to be in these big, funny, crazy movies. And I also felt like, and looking back, honestly, I wish I had expanded my repertoire a little more earlier on. I've done more things. I've changed things up a little bit. And even at that time, I was doing movies like Jeff Who Lives at Home, which was a Duplass Brothers movie. That's funny, but very real and a little bit dark. And then Cedar Rapids is another one that, again, I think it's a comedy, but it's dramatic.
Yeah.
But I didn't go, like, full drama. And I think that's something I wish I had done earlier on.
Yeah, why? I'm curious why. I mean, it's not like it didn't work out for you in comedy.
Because I think it would have opened up more possibilities.
I see.
Over time. Like, now I'm definitely more open to those kinds of roles, and I just did one that's, like, super dark.
Oh, okay.
And I'm kind of excited about it, and it was fun. I think I'm just enjoying variety of challenges now. I will still always love comedy. Like, there's nothing like just trying to come up with the best bit on a movie set. It's so fun. The pressure is so high. It's like everybody's like, this joke isn't working. Like, what do we do? What do we do? And you just like, your body just does it, and you start figuring stuff out. And I love that. I love that process. I love the collaboration. But there's something about drama and like the intensity of certain moments and role. I'm finding I'm drawn to that now.
Yeah, I can understand that. I didn't mean to have all these Office and Hangover questions, but my listeners are going to tear me a new one if I don't ask them. And I assume you're
wide
used
open.
to it.
Yeah.
You joined The Office after it already built some momentum as a series. What was maybe the biggest challenge in stepping into that dynamic? Because it's that speaking of pressure, right? Like you're getting in there and it's like, all right, don't screw this up because this show's already funny. If it's not funny when you're there, well, it's probably that one's on you, pal.
Yeah.
It's like, thanks for the vote.
I had just done a pilot for NBC before that that had gone really, really well, and it was a multi-camera pilot, so it's one of those ones like with a big studio audience.
I see.
And that was terrifying because I had never done anything like that before. But like I said, it went really well.
Okay.
And so at the end of the day, it was just exhilarating and incredibly fun, and also very like a huge confidence builder. So I went into the office. I already knew Steve Carell because he had worked on The Daily Show, not for long, but we had overlapped on The Daily Show. And I had also done a little bit part in Bruce Almighty. That Evan Almighty.
Evan Almighty,
the one that
I knew what you meant.
Yeah, that he starred in. And so Steve and I were well acquainted, and so I had that comfort. And then I also wasn't kind of thrown to the wolves. I was invited in by Greg Daniels to have a conversation about it. They didn't offer me a part. They just were like, hey, we have this idea for this character who's like a Connecticut yacht club kid, went to Cornell, and we just wanted to talk to you about it and see if it resonates. And I was like, yes, that sounds hilarious. And we start pitching and just kind of having a conversation. So I felt very brought in and kind of part of the process from the get-go in a way that I think is extremely rare and was very, very lucky for me. And Greg Daniels had also seen a little short movie I had done about a zombie who it was like a little documentary about a zombie trying to go on the dating scene. And like and of course as a zombie, like everyone's like grossed out by him, so he's really struggling on the dating scene. And it was a very funny like little 5-10 minute short film, and we really committed to the zombie makeup, so it looked really good. But it's him like talking to camera like, yeah, I don't know, it's just hard. Like the minute they see me or smell me, like it's just they're grossed out.
It's like they're already checked out.
Yeah. It's like it's like how do I even get like anywhere with these people? So he liked that because it had a very office-y kind of vibe.
Sure. Yeah.
And then the cast was so warm, and it just I'll never forget. Like John and Rashida and I were both new at the time, so we were kind of buddies.
Oh yeah.
And we were in this Stanford branch, and I just felt like I always said to John later, like you guys were just like this basket for Rashida and me, and you just welcomed us in. There was no like, let's see what these guys can do.
Nice,
let's see if these guys screw up our show. It was just like, come on, come play with us.
That's great.
It was the best.
That's great. I love I think from an acting standpoint, I think the funniest part for me, one of the funniest parts for me, is you had this. This is going to be hard to explain, like a disconnect from how you're really feeling on The Office. It's that you're always trying to, your appearance on the outside is always almost trying, not quite in sync with your emotional status, your real emotional status. Does this make sense?
Sure, the characters?
Yeah,
yes.
The characters.
Yeah, of course.
And that's kind of fun. And it finds its way into these different bits, like where you punch the wall and says an overreactione?
Yeah.
Yeah. like, all right, he's fine. Nope, he just smashed the wall. And it's just like there's this tension inside your character from that. I think it's really, really funny.
Yeah, that came very naturally because I grew up in the South, and
people punch walls.
Very few people are presenting a transparent version of themselves in the South. See. There's like there's very much a sort of facade that people. I mean, not just in the South. This is
we're in Hollywood right now.
I know, right? This is humanity. Yeah. This is like what it means to be human, is to sort of like struggle with how we present ourselves and how we really feel. And that was like the Office writers just got that so well, and I've always understood that. I've always I don't know that's always been that tension between who we present and who we want to be and who we hope we are.
Yes.
That's such a funny battle within us.
Did you ever disagree? Disagree might be a strong word, but disagree with the writers or the producers about where Andy's character was headed? Is there ever any like, oh, really? That's going to happen? I don't know if that, but I don't know about that. Or do you not even have the sort of green light to do that?
So I'll be delicate, but there were aspects of Andy's story that I was really struggled with. Yeah. And and especially after years of building a character and committing your life is committed to this thing. And I think all of us on that show, one of the things that was so special about it was how much we loved our characters. And then certain scripts come in and you're like, this doesn't feel like this character. And we all felt pretty possessive, or not possessive, but just a lot of ownership and affection for our characters. And so there were a lot of times where us as a cast would push back with writers or producers, like, I don't think Andy would do this, and a lot of times that was a very fruitful conversation. There were times though that I sort of felt like Andy was like all this work I'd put into like a redeeming Andy, who sort of on paper was a pretty like hard to like guy, but I'd really tried to find heart and like a deep goodness in him and it was his internal battle. Anyway, I kind of felt like at a certain point that was not factoring in to things, valued. And it was tough. Yeah, there were some tough moments.
I can imagine that. I get what you mean about being possessive over your character. I mean, it's nothing I deal with, but I can see why you would be like, this is sort of a part of my identity, right? Yeah. And on the show, it is my identity, and you're gonna make it. It's like it'd be like if you built a really nice radio-controlled car, and someone's like, cool, I'm going to drive this as fast as I can into that wall over there. And you're like, no, that's not what it's for. The paint job is immaculate. Yeah, like, you're supposed to show this thing off.
They're like, but it will be cool.
It's going to be cool.
It's going to be great. Yeah. Well, that's actually kind of a good analogy, because there's also, from a high-altitude standpoint, I think TV writers, there's value in blowing things up. There's value in sort of like destroying something to rebuild it in a narrative context, and so I won't presume that I understood all the choices that were made, and I held no grudges. Like I truly look back on that time with nothing but just like epic thanks and gratitude, and like it was such a joyful time.
I bet.
But yeah, there were some narrative moments where I was like, come on, what?
Yeah. I can believe it. Is there any sort of behind the scenes moment from The Office that's never made it into an interview before? As you can tell, my YouTube team told me to ask you that one.
Well,
get a viral moment, Jordan.
Let's see. I'm sure there's tons. This one you'll never see anywhere, but there were some really funny jam sessions off camera between me and Creed, because he's a great musician, guitar player. Oh yeah, he was in a band. He was in a band in the 70s, a big rock band.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
His name is his name of the show is Creed. It probably.
I forget the name of the band. It's killing. How am I forgetting? But they had a big hit. The chorus is na 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 live for today.
Oh, okay.
Yes, that
I don't know.
Creed was in that band.
That's funny.
Okay, so. So anyway, he's a great guitar player, and I'm banjo guitar player.
Yeah.
And we would just hang out and jam. And then Zach Woods joined the cast. Guess what Zach Woods plays?
Oh God,
trumpet.
No kidding.
Jazz
and he
trumpet.
Just brings it with him.
And we were like, Zach, you got to bring your trumpet. And we had some banjo guitar trumpet jams.
That's pretty fun. It's got to be a good way to blow off steam.
How in character is that?
Yeah.
For Creed, for Creed, Andy, and Zach, like. It was
true.
it was pretty great.
Sound guys like, can you tell them we're trying to work over here?
This was like this was over at in our trailers and stuff. But
That's funny.
But the other thing I'll tell you is the Christmas episode. I think people have talked about this a lot. The Christmas episode where Kevin is sitting on Steve's dressed as Santa Claus and Kevin's sitting on his lap, and Steve is like suffering, and the way that he's performing that, it has all of us laughing so hard. And I'm in the background of a shot, and I'm almost positive it's in the show, where I keep ducking behind a plant because I'm laughing so hard. And that was so, there were so many instances where I couldn't watch, Rain, or I just couldn't look at them because they were being so funny.
And you don't want to screw up the
flow. Or like, even if you're off camera, if you're talking, you're in a dialogue with someone, you can't break and laugh at them because then you'll ruin their take.
Sure.
So I had developed this practice where when I had scenes with Steve, a lot of the time I would look at his chin or his ear because I couldn't look into those eyes.
Oh, no kidding.
They would destroy me and just make me laugh too hard. But this Christmas episode, I definitely am like, I think I'm over in the corner with Mindy and she's kind of she's skirting around and we're both trying to hide.
Yeah. That's good. I mean, it had to be a fun set to be on. In The Hangover, I heard that tooth really came out or comes out.
Yeah.
How was that possible? I guess it's probably common, and I just don't know that.
Yeah, it's not that crazy of a story. I was born without that tooth.
Oh.
This tooth.
So it's just
so I had the baby tooth, but when it fell out, there was no adult tooth. So I had a flipper, like with like a retainer with a fake tooth on it.
I thought you meant like a little arm that waves around. That's freaking weird, man.
So I also had a flipper. No, but it was just a tooth I could pop out on a retainer. Okay. And it had a little tooth on the front that would go right in there.
Now you'd have something else.
Correct. Okay. So then I turned, like around 17, I got an implant. But an implant is just like a nut that is screwed into your, or glued into your bone.
Wow.
And then they actually have to put they put a little post into the implant, which they then put the tooth on top of.
So you have a tooth that unscrews, basically.
Kind of. I went to so we're in testing, we're doing like wardrobe testing and camera tests for The Hangover, and Todd's like, we got to figure out how to get rid of your tooth. So we did some camera tests, blacking it out and these other things, and nothing looked good. And now you could probably do it digitally, like no problem, but that we didn't have that then. So I said, well, this is an implant. Let me go talk to my dentist. And so he's like, go to my guy.
I got a guy.
I got the best guy here in Beverly Hills. And I was like, oh, okay. Because I didn't.
If you're going to pay for it, I'll go to the guy in Beverly Hills.
So I go to this dentist, and he's like, yes, we can take the tooth off the post, unscrew the post out of the implant, and it will look like you have no tooth there. And we just have to like keep your gum healthy throughout production. So that's what we did. And he then made me a couple of flippers that I could use for the shots where I have a tooth.
I see.
And then so I was able to pop that tooth kind of in and out at will.
Oh my God.
And I also was shooting The Office simultaneously, and I didn't tell them that I had taken my tooth out.
Yeah.
But it affected my speech a little bit.
Sure.
This thing in my mouth.
We got a little air outlet.
Like I couldn't move my tongue the same way. So I sounded just a tiny bit off. But fortunately, one of the episodes that I did while I had the fake tooth was where Andy and Oscar are on a business trip, and Andy gets trashed and calls Angela, and it has some like drunk dials. But anyway, I was drunk. So the speech thing didn't really matter.
I see. Yeah, I see. God, that's so ridiculous. It's so funny.
Yeah.
The scenes with this tiger, that was real, right? The tiger's real.
Yeah.
How do you do that safely?
I don't know. I don't know that. I honestly don't know that I can't say for sure it was safe. No, it's, oh man, I remember the scene where we're pushing the car. We're pushing the car it's after the tigers. Wait, what's happening? No, the car's. Shoot, I can't remember exactly what's happening, but we're pushing the car with the tiger in it, and it's nighttime, so the tigers are on a truck, like in the production area.
Yeah,
they're like in these big cages on the back of a truck. And we're waiting for night to start shooting. As the sun's going down, this is when tigers hunt.
Oh, no.
And this is when their like energy comes up. And so the sun's going down, the Santa Anas start blowing.
This is winds.
Spooky, and like the trees are going and all the grass is moving and the tigers are pacing in.
Oh my
God.
God.
And I think there's 2 or 3 tigers that we used for and they're just pacing in their cages and we're like, what the hell's going on?
You're not going to open the cages, right?
And we get all these safety lectures about how to like move, like never turn your back on a tiger because that's when they pounce. It's like as long as I don't know if you've seen the in India the people that would hunt tigers had masks on the face on the back of their head, and that was to confuse the tiger because they won't pounce if they think you're looking at them.
That's good to know, I suppose.
I don't know. Anyway, it was always nuts. There was like a leash with a cable, but I always was looking at that leash like, really? This like 800-pound cat can't just like snap that thing in a second?
Yeah, or pull the person who's holding it.
Yeah, exactly. And then we're doing all those crazy photos in the hotel room, and I remember Bradley's like, "Can I feed it?" No. And I was like, buddy, what are you? And he's like, no, come on. I want to feed. Like, they're feeding it. Why can't I feed it?
Yeah.
And they're like, sure, just hold the bottle like this. And so there's pictures in the closing credits of Bradley feeding the cat.
Oh, my God.
And he's really doing it.
Yeah. I would be very nervous around something like that. Because, even if there's a guy with like a giant cannon nearby to sedate the tiger doesn't really understand that, right? Tiger's just like, I'm hungry. These guys look like they are tasty. I can smell them, right? And they're right in front of me.
Can't train cats.
Siegfried and Roy have taught us this, right? The guys who lived with the tiger, and then that was the end.
Yes,
sadly, so ridiculous.
Yes.
All right, a quick break. I'm going to tell you about something that'll actually make your life a little bit easier. I regularly take shots of Ketone IQ plus caffeine from HVMN. It is 5 grams of ketones, 100 milligrams of caffeine from green tea. So no sugar, no crash, just clean, focused energy. Now, ketones are molecules that your body naturally produces during fasting, intense exercise, or a low-carb, high-fat diet, so aka ketosis. And when glucose, carbs, aren't readily available, your liver breaks down fat into ketones, which then become an alternative fuel source for your brain and muscles. And our body likes using ketones because they're a high-efficiency fuel, especially for the brain and the muscles. Ketone IQ from HVMN skips that whole process, gives you pure, drinkable ketones, so you get the benefits of ketone energy without having to fast for days on end or go full keto. I take it before I hit the gym. It gives me that steady, locked-in energy without making me feel like I'm kind of vibrating a little bit. And I also take it before I need to do a show. Same deal. I feel focused, same steady energy. And it's not just me. Team Visma, Lisa Bike, literally the best pro cycling team in the world. They use Ketone IQ to fuel their races. These guys won the Tour de France twice, dominated all 3 Grand Tours last year. Olympians, Ironman champions, they're all on this stuff because it works. So if you want to try it, go to ketone.com/Jordan. You'll get 30% off your first subscription order and a free 6-pack of Ketone IQ. That's these little things right here. Get energy that actually works. Ketone.com/Jordan. Links in the description.
And you also got super sick during the shooting of one of the hangovers, yeah?
Oh, yeah.
I remember Bradley Cooper said, we all ate at the same place. I don't understand why you're the one that got sick.
He has this theory that I used like one of the sauces or something.
Sure.
You know, we're in, it's like week 1 in Bangkok.
Yeah.
And this is Hangover 2. And we're so excited to be there. And the first AD, this guy, JP, is like, I found there's this awesome restaurant. It's like a hole in the wall. And let's all go out. And we're all just eager for adventure, eager to see the city and do whatever. And like, JP's like, kind of this boss figure on the set. He's our first AD. He's looking out for everybody. And then we're like, yeah, sure, let's go. We all go out, and we eat this, but it's basically street food. It's basically
Sure.
Bangkok street food, and we go back, and I just explode. Like my entire body explodes. That's the only way to describe it.
Yeah.
Is that a bomb went off inside of me, and that every orifice was where the explosion went.
Oh man. Yeah. So
and
a couple ways out.
I could, and I couldn't. I remember I was so sick, and I felt it's this weird thing, like when you're in a foreign country and you're really, really sick, your mind just starts going to really dark places.
Sure.
And I was like, I'm gonna die, and I'm thousands of miles from like my family and people that love me, and like I'm definitely gonna die. And I called JP, and I was like, I am so sick. What, like, I think I need to go to the hospital.
Yeah.
And he was like, your pickup is 6 a.m. tomorrow to go to set.
Right. Yeah.
To go to work.
Not for the hospital.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like, so we'll see you then? Okay. And it just was like, that's right. I'm here to work. I have a job to do.
Yeah.
And like this production that costs like $1 million a day can't just like pause because I have a
Right.
tummy ache or whatever.
Even though
and that like whips me back into shape, and I wind up going on some crazy intense, like, I don't know if it's an antibiotic or some weird like anti whatever, and so then the next day we're shooting this scene where it plays on Liam Neeson's. It was originally Liam Neeson. It became Cassavetes. When he's showing us the video of the riot we started the night before on his iPhone, and we're shooting the riot.
Oh
So
my
it's
God.
it's the riot scene.
Yeah.
And I have to, and I'm leading the riot.
Yeah.
And so I'm shirtless, like, F the police. Like, and there's fires. There's a pyrotechnics everywhere and crowds all around. And we're also in Soy Cowboy, which is the red light district of Bangkok.
Yeah.
And it is grimy. It is like not
next level.
Yeah, it is not like a chill part of town. And yet, I'm still, in between every take, I'm curled up on the sidewalk on a blanket.
Of Soy Cowboy.
Yeah.
Ugh.
And with Bradley and Zach, like, feeding me little sips of water or Sprite and, like, gently patting me. And I will say, like, I never felt more supported and bonded with, like, we went through so much together. That was one of the things that I was like, I would love these guys forever.
Yeah,
like they really took care of me. And then I would just get this adrenaline rush every time I had to stand up and do a take. And I got the greatest compliment of my entire acting career ever the next day, which is when Larry, the DP, Larry Scher, was talking about something that we had shot the day before. He was like laughing about it. And I was like, I was like almost comatose with food poisoning that day. And he was like, really?
Yeah, wow.
You sold it, dude.
Yeah.
And I was like, yes. That's the hardest I've ever acted.
I bet. Meanwhile, there's B-roll of you just on this blanket on the dirtiest street in Bangkok, being petted by Bradley Cooper and fed like a tiger out of a bottle. The set had so much craziness in it. There was I think it was you who told the story in some ancient article where there's Mercedes cars and one of them got stolen. And then,
oh my God, I forgot about that.
Yeah, what was that all about? This is like actually ridiculous.
Oh yeah, so that beautiful Mercedes from the first Hangover.
I see.
We're in Vegas and we're shooting. Oh man, I wish I could remember all the details because that was wild. The car just goes missing. We had like 3 or 4 of those Mercedes because you see it in various states of distress.
I see.
Right? It's getting beat up throughout the movie. And so in order to do that in movies, you have like 4 cars.
I didn't know that. Why can't they just damage one car? Why do they need 4?
Because you have to shoot out of sequence.
Oh, yeah,
And you
of course.
can't have a car dictating the sequence of your production because
makes
that's
sense.
a much bigger expense. So And also, if you need to reshoot something or change something or fix something, you have to have and it's the same with wardrobe. When you see people's clothes get more and more tattered over time,
Right.
you're actually looking at 8 sets of clothes.
I didn't know that. Otherwise, you
Yeah.
end up with that Starbucks cup in Game of Thrones where they're like, that's not supposed to be
Yeah,
like that.
exactly,
Yeah. Oh,
yeah.
I see. I didn't realize that.
It's one of many of the sort of beautifully creative things that you just never know about movies.
Yeah. How cool is that?
But yeah, one of those production cars of the Mercedes, and I think it was one of the ones that was a little beat up, got stolen. And it's missing. The production is freaking out.
Yeah, of course.
What are we gonna do? We still have to shoot this thing, and they put an APB out on it, and they catch the guy who stole the car. And there was crack in the front seat and all this stuff. And he presumably just wanted to probably sell it for drug money or something. I don't know. But yeah, that was.
You got the car, and they're like, so the good news is we got the car. The bad news is it's lightly dusted with crack. However,
the bad news is we got to clean it. It's going to be a while.
The second bit of good news is it was already supposed to look like kind of a beater. So
Yeah.
once we get the crack out of it and the used needles, it's back in
my
action, and
gosh.
we don't have to worry about the dents.
What was that great joke in the other guys where the car that got it's these people having orgies and the car gets never mind.
I don't know.
Forget.
Yeah, I'll have to look it up after the show. When you guys get a new script for, let's say, The Hangover or The Office, are you as excited almost as the fans to see what happens next with your characters?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah. Yeah, every office table read, I was so giddy. It was like going to a movie you're excited for every time. And then also those table reads was the production days are long and they're hard. And the table read was this fun little party.
Yeah.
We get in the middle of the day. It was once a week, so it would be on a Tuesday or something. At 10 a.m. and it's also one of the rare moments when the entire production team and cast and writers are in the same space.
Oh, I see. I didn't realize that.
It's like the Office family, and then of course you have some network people there too, and usually that can be good or bad. In the Office case,
what are they doing there? That's kind of scary. It can be kind of nerve-wracking. Why is this person in the room?
they're usually there to kind of give some notes or a few thoughts, or just so they're aware of what's happening creatively on the show. And later on in the run of the show, of course, they weren't giving notes to Greg Daniels because he was God status. But I think that was just everybody's together. So you might be good buddies with someone on the crew or someone in the writer's room, but you don't get to see them that much during normal production.
Yeah.
But then everybody's together for those things, and it's just a little bit of I don't know, the energy was always so great. And you get to hear these jokes for the first time.
Yeah.
And you're kind of nervous, how much am I in this episode? Do I have good jokes? Am I going to sell them well? Those were just incredibly fun. The Hangover scripts would come, the second and third Hangover scripts, you just get those
through your agent, right?
Yeah, and then you read those on your own. But still, it was the same thing of oh my God, what are we in for?
I can imagine you're I've got to text Bradley Cooper and Zach and be holy shit, have you seen this joke? This is going to be ridiculous.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And then they're oh, I haven't gotten there yet.
Yeah.
I'm in Bermuda. Don't spoil it. Yeah. Has your definition of good work changed over time? What matters to you now that didn't before?
Well, that's an interesting question. I think it's when you're starting out, you're less picky because everything's new, and you're just eager to work, and your criteria are very different now. That I have so much work under my belt, I have a body of work, but I also have a ton of experience, and I kind of know the types of people that I'm going to work well with, or the types of people that I want to work with. So that's going to be a much bigger part of the evaluation of something now than it ever was before. I mean, early on, you're you still want to work with great people. So
but you're just happy to be there.
But you're also just you want me to do this?
Yeah.
Sure, I'll be there. Yeah, did I answer the question? I can't remember.
I think so. I mean, you basically said now it's more about am I collaborating with amazing people as opposed to just being happy to be in the room kind
Sure.
of at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that counts.
And also, I have a family now, and so
Two
my
kids?
yeah,
Yeah.
and so my life needs are so different. And if I get a script that's like, this is Steven Spielberg shooting, it's you and so in Antarctica for 5 months.
Yeah.
I'm like, no.
Well, it's still Spielberg though, but
I know,
no.
but I'm
Yeah.
going to be that. I'm not going to be in a place where I'm inaccessible to my family.
Sure.
When during formative years of my kids' lives.
How old are they?
They're young.
Yeah, I've got a 3-year-old and a 5-year-old. Yeah, 5-year-old. So, pardon me, I didn't mean to ask it for personal information, but when they're young like that, that is you don't want to be when I'm gone for one night this trip. My son was like, oh, why is it such a long time?
I know.
And I'm like, oh, it's not a long time. My wife's not going to miss me. I'm gone for one day. She's just going to clean up the house and be like, thank God he's not here to screw it up. Walking after me. But my son's like, but I wanted to build Legos tonight and it can't wait. And I'm like,
Yeah.
I know, I remember what those feelings are like. And they're not going to be that way forever, right? When they're 13, they're going to be like, yeah, you're going to Antarctica? Oh, only 5 months?
Yeah. Yeah, get out of here.
Stay for 6.
Right.
Leave the car keys on the kitchen island on your way out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're just, I'm always like, they need me. This is this is
it's
for
true,
them. I want to be there for them to like raise them right and give them the pillar of a parent.
Good for you.
But also I'm like, I can't handle being
can't
apart.
handle it.
Like
Yeah.
I'm too mushy to like be apart from the whole family. It's a good crew. We got a good crew.
Everybody who is, let's say, in their 50s or 60s or something like that, when I say like, oh, my publicist or my agent wants me to write a book, or this huge potential project came up, but it's going to be this, and it's a lot of time away from the kids. All the guys with kids are like, you can work later. You can work later. Work's always going to be there. Your kids are not always going to be there. And no one has said like, oh, actually, with few exceptions, no one has said just do it and they'll understand. The guys that have said that, a lot of them are divorced. Can't help but think that there's a correlation there. Or I say, really? Or is that like a lie you're telling yourself to justify over working too much and being away from your kids? And often like the next day they'll go, dude, couldn't sleep at all last night. Totally think you're right about that.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, that's the verdict, man, is work will always be there.
Well, it's funny because in my 20s, or I should say my early 30s, when I was really like firing on all cylinders. I mean, there were times when I was working like on between the Hangover and the Office.
Those overlapped?
Yeah.
Oh,
I was doing them at the same
God.
time. So the first Hangover I was doing at the same time, and the Office had really graciously agreed to crossboard my scene so that I was working Monday and Tuesday of the week, and then the Hangover shot Wednesday through Sunday.
That's brutal.
It's insane.
It's
completely insane. And there were a couple of nights where I chartered my own flight from Vegas to Van Nuys after a night shoot in Las Vegas to go straight to Van Nuys, which is the Van Nuys airport, which is just minutes away from the Office set location. And I would go shoot all night in Las Vegas, get on a plane that I paid for, chartered, to land in Van Nuys at 5:30 in the morning so I could make my 6 a.m. call time at the office, work all day, work all the next day, because other thing is I'm cross-boarded, meaning I don't have any downtime.
No.
Like they've squeezed all my stuff in.
My eyes are dry just thinking about it.
And then get back on a flight, like a Southwest flight from Burbank to Vegas.
That's hilarious.
On that evening, and then work all the next week. So, and that was probably 4 or 5 weeks in a row.
Jeez, that'll give you gray hair, man.
Yeah, it's nuts. And but it was so fun.
Yeah, I bet.
I was like I was having the time of my life, and I was so exhilarated and thrilled to be a part of these things. I loved everyone I was working with. I couldn't have been more excited and like grateful, and it was incredibly fun. Now, what I was saying, like back to what we were talking about before, at that time, I sort of like I would think often like, well, what's this I want a family. I want,
Yeah.
I want a family. How is this going to work? And I just thought, I was like, okay, I'm going to be like a traveling dad.
Yeah.
I'm going to be a guy who's like gone for chunks, but that's going to be okay. Like our family's going to manage that, and we're going to be a family that can kind of figure that out. And because I'm never going to not do awesome movies. Like
Sure.
this is incredible. I was so naive.
Yeah.
I truly was so naive.
I get it.
And I think like even before I had kids, I was starting to realize like the pace and the pattern of life that I really wanted and that I really wanted to carve out for myself, and the value that I was sort of giving to some of my hobbies, honestly, not RC cars, but music and some other things that I was just deriving tremendous pleasure from, and not just pleasure, but like identity,
Sure.
and that those were things that were starting to feel important, and that my wife was just like, I don't want to be apart from this incredible person for huge stretches. Like, what was I thinking? And and so it's just evolved a lot over time.
Yeah.
And I'm
The wife is always the sneak preview of is this going to work, right? Because if she's like, so I see you a few times a month, is it always going to be like this? And you're like, oh, this is when I find out she doesn't like being alone for 3 weeks a month. That's should I do something about this? And she's like, you want me to like have your kids with you, and like are you going to help with that at all? And you're like, I'm starting to take the hint.
Yeah.
Starting to take the hint.
Yeah, movies are very intoxicating because it's so all-consuming, and it's very easy to detach from a lot of things in your life, whether they're like things that are difficult or things that are good, whatever and I also, as an ADHD person, I thrive in hyperfocus. So like
out of sight, out of mind, man.
When I get into that mindset, it's like I'm in go mode, and it's thrilling, but there's a cost.
Yeah. Yeah, and you can't afford to put that cost onto your kids. It doesn't work. We got to do the book stuff, otherwise the publicist is going to be like, "Yeah, Jordan, never again." But thanks for having us.
This is why I'm here.
Yeah,
come on.
So this book, Snafu, I read it. I did the audiobook, and it's great because you read it, and that makes it even more fun. There are a lot of uncomfortably close calls where, for example, the nuclear bomb that got dropped on.
Yeah.
Can you tell us about this? Because like that seems like a thing that shouldn't have happened.
Nuclear. Well, it was. It didn't have its nuclear core in it.
But
but it was dropped in North Carolina, and by accident, basically.
Yeah.
On a training mission. And this guy, it landed on this guy's property. Fortunately, no one was killed. There were some injuries, but no one was hurt. I mean, no one was killed. And the guy whose property it landed on was a World War II vet. And he was like, you know what? I get it. I'm a vet. I get it.
Sure.
These things happen. And you guys are going to take care of me. Well, surprise, surprise, the government didn't take care of him. They kind of boned him. And so he got pissed and but wound up getting, I think, an okay settlement at the end of the day. But yeah, that's just one of many examples of like this book is every chapter is a crazy snafu that has happened in our history, basically from the 50s. It's divided up into decades: 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, and 2000s, basically 2000 to present. And there's 31 snafus in here, so it's good bathroom reading.
It is. It's divided nicely. It's good toilet reading.
You can just kind of sit down and open it anywhere and have fun with it. Lots of great stories.
The uplifting message, though, is that we've kind of always been on the brink of something sort of horrible, and maybe you don't know about it, maybe you do, but like, it's not new. COVID seems new because it's new for you, but this guy over here had a deactivated or disarmed nuclear bomb dropped on his house. Yeah, he's fine.
Yeah, I write about that in the introduction, how it's there is something, when you look back at crazy disasters in history or snafus, they're weirdly reassuring for that exact reason. Like, we do get through things, and obviously, I think a lot of people, myself included, feel like we're in a fraught moment right now.
Yeah, that's true.
And that this isn't to say like there isn't reason to feel real anxiety and or fear or whatever feelings you're having, but from a very high altitude standpoint, there's reassurance in the long view that like humanity we're just constantly screwing up and we're constantly falling on our face and somehow we usually get back up again.
Unless you bought one of those kids' toys that had uranium in it, in which case you might be down for the count. That was shocking. So one of the earlier snafus.
Yeah,
some kid
it's the
toy.
first one in the book. Yeah,
kid toy that had
in the 1950s
actual uranium in it.
Yeah,
plutonium or something.
The guy who invented the Erector set, which was a huge hit.
Huge hit.
And,
pre-Legos.
And lasted all the way from the 50s to the 80s because I had an Erector set as a kid.
Yeah.
He invented basically like a little nuclear lab for kids to play with,
It
and
sounds
it
awesome.
had radioactive materials in it, and that's not what you want kids playing with.
Generally not. And it's like, oh, it's safe if you don't open this forbidden container. And
Yeah.
every kid's like, get the hammer. I want to see this
Of
glowing
course.
stuff.
Of course.
It's like when your parents go, yeah, we used to break thermometers and dump the mercury around our hand and put it in our mouth and spit it at each other. And
Yes.
It's like, that's
Probably shouldn't have done
Probably
that.
shouldn't have done that.
Probably shouldn't have. Probably dealing with some consequences still.
It's like, oh,
Yeah.
no wonder you have dementia and you're 45,
Yeah.
Jordan. The CIA wanted to wire cats for surveillance. Scientology infiltrated the U.S. government and it's the IRS, that story was nuts. A lot of sort of close Cold War calls in the book
Yes.
as well. And man, it's just I really enjoy these snafus, and there's a lot of wait, this can't. Actually, this is probably a good one for you. Did you have a this one can't be real moment in this book? It seems like there's at least more than maybe a handful.
I honestly, the one you just brought up about trying to train cats to be spies, like they tried to implant microphones in their ears because the ears are directional and they're so astute. But then they tried to train them to actually go and like sit next to someone so that you could spy on what they're saying. And of course that's a debacle.
Yeah.
And they're like really harming cats in the process, which is like grotesque.
Double gross, yeah.
And yes, this is just like, and it also is more evidence of why working with tigers on a movie set is terrifying. You can't train cats. You just can't train them. But yeah, that one I think is like, just like, what are you thinking?
Yeah.
They also did the same thing with pigeons, and that's in the book. We talk about how
that's right.
Yeah, it's like they tried to put a little backpack, a little harness on pigeons that had surveillance gear. I don't know. It's just
Flying rats, man.
Yeah,
Crazy to me.
So funny. MK Ultra is a wild story. That's in here.
Yeah.
Where I basically explain how the CIA was in the 50s was trying to figure out if LSD, there was like a kind of this, it was Cold War, big arms race with the Soviet Union, and they're trying to figure out if LSD can be used as a mind control device, like serum or a truth serum, or just what its potential might be. How can we weaponize this? Right? That's how the military or the CIA is always thinking, like, how can we weaponize this? And so they just start drugging people.
Via sex workers, right?
via they use sex workers that they're spying on, which is very
so creepy.
That was sort of
the guy's doing that. Like when you're explaining this in the book, and you're like, yeah, there's a guy behind the wall, and there's a sex worker, and she's drugging the guy, and then they're banging. That guy was probably just like, I don't know if this is working, but it's working for me.
Exactly.
Yeah, that was because come on, man.
Yes. And the name of that operation was Midnight Climax. Literally, like, come on. And that was and I mean that was so unethical. Like just drugging people with these really powerful high doses. And then just taking notes. Let's see what happens.
Like, and the end result is, hey, guys that have an orgasm like to talk afterwards. Like, science.
Or like to fall asleep afterwards.
God, what a ridiculous era the whole thing was. I know you have to run. Do you have a favorite joke? My buddy's been sending me jokes recently, and I'm like, oh, I bet Ed Helms has a joke off the top.
My daughter just told me one that I kind of loved.
Okay, what is it?
Why did the chicken cross the playground?
Oh no. Why?
To get to the other slide.
Yeah, that's not bad.
Come on.
Yeah, that's not bad.
That's pretty good.
Yeah. No, it's a good kid joke for sure.
I also heard a new take on why did the chicken cross the road. So what's the answer?
To get to the other side, yeah.
Right. Okay.
Okay.
So how have you always thought about that?
What
does that mean to you? It's just funny, like the chicken crosses the road to get to the other side.
Sure.
Right. And it's a funny joke because that's so dumb. Right.
Yeah, of course it's dumb. Yeah, I just thought it was a kid
obvious.
joke.
Okay.
Sure.
Well, what if the chicken is crossing the road to truly cross over to get hit by a car?
Oh, I see.
It's suicide.
Well, that's dark.
Right?
Jeez.
But what if that's what the joke always meant? To get to the other side.
Oh man, you've been doing that MK Ultra stuff.
I don't know. Someone was like, "That's what the joke really means." I heard that recently, and I was like, "Wait, what?"
Oh god,
that's like now it's like one of the most profound jokes ever.
Now it's something you got to meditate on when you get home.
Oh yeah.
Ed Helms, thank you very much, man.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah,
Super fun. Yeah. Cheers.
Appreciate it.